Hey, what is going on, everybody? Hope you're having a better Wednesday than we are down here in LA. Um, I currently am going to be planning to go live at 6. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to play today. Most of the places around us have been evacuated, and sadly, there's not very many other places to go because just to give you guys an idea of what's happening, it's sort of we're sort of trapped. We're in a safe zone at the moment, but we're sort of trapped right now, and really sad to watch. So many places burn and friends losing houses and honestly it's not getting any better. We've had gusts of winds up to 100 miles an hour, so it's a pretty scary time right now, and I hope you bear with us. I'm going to do my best, but I may not have my regular content up as much as I usually would, just because I don't know how long we'll have power, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to play tonight. It feels kind of risky to risk it with the power situation and the possible evacuation. As we know, with NBA, you have to be able to late swap and all that, but really want to send out all my best wishes and thoughts to everybody who's struggling at this in LA. And it's really been a sad, tough time. And the cloud is black. You'd think it was the apocalypse down here. And sadly, like I said, it's not getting any better anytime soon. So we're just going to roll with what we got and do as much as we can while we can. And that's where I'm at right now. They've closed down a lot of the roads, so we can't really go many places except for to the water. And it's just been a tricky time, but whatever I'm able to get up today, I'll do my best. And then I'm planning to be live at 6 Eastern, but I'm just it may be a tiny bit tricky just with all this what's going on here. It's just really been like a something out of a movie. If I don't know if you guys have seen This Is the End, but that's what it looks like in LA. At least we're around where I'm at. So good luck to everybody who's struggling with this and people who have had it a lot worse than I have so far. And hopefully we can stay safe and avoid the fires where we were at. But it's up in the air at the moment. All right. With that said, venting from NBA last night would have been a very good night if not for the Kyle Kuzma injury. I ended up with a ton of Kyle Kuzma, who was on pace to have a nice 45 to 50 fantasy point game, which would have been beautiful at 6K. But it was not to be, as it was. So the Kuzma injury did destroy what would have been, I think, a very good night. Instead, I lost some money, but we will get into tonight. Thanks a lot, you guys. Appreciate the kind words, Matt and Andy. And we'll do what we can here. So, all right, getting back to the DFS. So tonight, look, again, there's probably going to be some other value that opens up, but we actually have some reasonable value to take shots on, and I think some things we could do as far as spend ups. It's a little bit different of a slate because we've got Jokic and Wemby. We actually have Jokic, Wemby, and Giannis, but I don't know about Jokic playing, and I think that was another big piece last night where I took a bunch of gambles and played a bunch of Westbrook in the later game. Unfortunately, played some Saric as well, which didn't work out so well. Peyton Watson got to a little bit of it and was ahead of the field on it, but couldn't quite turn it into a winning night. But we have some guys to spend up for, so I did want to mention that because there is going to be some serious value, and then if Jokic is out again, we will see some more value other places. So starting off with OKC and Cleveland. It seems like the projections are continuing to still update, of course, right as we go on. And I'll touch on FanDuel after this. But that's weird. It's just did we get news about Embiid or something? Because it's something, things are just changing right now. So I'm just a little wary. I'm just gonna take a quick look and make sure I didn't miss anything from this morning's shoot around. Not that I've seen yet, so we'll see. But where did the Yabusele projection go? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Because I'm only on OKC. No wonder. Duh. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's just me. My brain is dead. I've been up all night just ready to evacuate and with nowhere really to go. Anyway, getting into it. Starting off with OKC, Aaron Wiggins, Lou Dort, Cason Wallace. All of these guys are guys you'd want in your pool. Feels hard to make Aaron Wiggins a priority, but he's really blossoming, and I feel a little better about it than I ordinarily would. This is an incredible basketball game. These are the two best teams in the NBA so far this season, and it's really not up for debate. They've been unbelievable. They're both carrying, massive winning streaks into this one. What a great game. And I think that you could make a great case to play Shea. This is the game where they might need him. My theory with Shea in general is play him when you might need him. So I'm going to go back and untag these later, but these are the guys who I'm looking at first look that I want to be heavy on. And it's kind of a game where I think Dort maybe gets some extra minutes as well. So these are I'm not going to keep all these guys as my core. I'll fine tune it and update you guys later on that. But all three of these guys are I have very heavy interest in. I also have some interest in Hartenstein and I think Jalen Williams. I think you keep the top 8 from OKC all in your pool today, no matter which way you're going. It just seems like it makes sense, and there's a lot to like there. I am going to say, look, it's a terrible individual matchup, but I really like the idea. And again, I'm using these. These are not going to be the cores at the end, but I'm just going to click on the plays that I like just as we go. I think it's a more helpful way to see sort of where we're at. I really like Mobley tonight. I'd like to get something because I think this game is going to be competitive, and I don't care that the numbers haven't been there, the production hasn't been quite the same. I like the idea of getting to Donovan Mitchell tonight. Look, that's a contrarian build. It's not like you do it in all your lineups, but I think if you're playing multiple lineups, you certainly want to have some exposure to some Mitchell and Shea stuff, maybe some Garland and Shea stuff. But I like both Mobley and Mitchell in what should be a very competitive game that will require them to play as well as they played. It's really strange to see Oklahoma City ever as an underdog, but you can't argue with it in Cleveland, who's been the best team in the NBA so far. It's really, really a fun real life game. And I actually have more interested in fantasy purposes than other people do. Okay, so let's see where we've got Lonzo Ball for minutes. 24. I disagree with this projection on Lonzo. I actually do think that he's a really good value play that you'd want to get some exposure to. It's a great matchup. Jalen Smith revenge, little Jalen Smith revenge. Can I interest anybody? Played well against them last time. I think that's a play I could talk myself into as well. So again, just looking at the plays that I like at first look. No issue with Patrick Williams, but that's not a guy I'd go out of my way to get. All these other ones I think are just interesting plays and great game environment in this one. Where are they going to put Halliburton, who's questionable? I love Halliburton in this matchup. I would want to be well overweight, assuming that he does play. If he doesn't play, we've got all kinds of stuff we're going to be doing. You have the really cheap price tag on Pascal Siakam. Hard not to have interest there. You have everybody, Miles Turner, Andrew Nembhard. This is one of the better games to target or one of the better sides to target, I feel like, is the Indiana side. The only issue we have with the Indiana side in general, and throw McConnell in the mix. The only issue is that they just play a lot of bodies. So it's a little bit tricky. And again, I'll fine tune this stuff later. But I think this is a team that you're going to want to try and get at least a player or two from in most of your lineups because it's such a prime matchup. Really like Halliburton. Can't emphasize that enough, assuming that he does in fact play. Washington and Philly. Kayshawn George was good last night. He was productive enough at 3,400. He started. We'll see if they start him again. It's going to depend on Jordan Poole. So I guess we'll wait on that before I click the button. But both he and Carrington would look like very solid plays if Poole is out. And you could throw in some other stuff as well. We have Kuzma's doubtful, but they're still getting him a projection. So my guess is Washington is going to look like they have a lot more value later in the day than they actually currently do. But I think it's going to be Kayshawn George, Carrington. Really depends on whether Poole plays or not. And then potentially even a guy like Joe Val could see some minutes in this matchup. On the other side, Yabusele is a guy who I want to get after. I'm very high on this. And no, I think the projections might be a little bit aggressive, but I think it's good. I would be playing Yabusele in most of my lineups tonight. He's one I actually would have the core tag on. Kelly Oubre at this ownership. Well, don't get me wrong. I like Kelly Oubre, but I would just let them, see what the Sims and everything give me. It certainly makes sense with obviously no Paul George and no Embiid, but I just feel like Oubre has a range of outcomes that maybe we don't have to eat all of the chalk. Just throwing it out there. I still probably end up with near the field on him, but I'm not going to click on him right now because I feel like trying to find some other ways to maybe get a little bit, exposure. I think Tyrese Maxey, that's why it'll keep Halliburton's ownership low. Halliburton, Maxey, Donovan Mitchell, those three sort of have a nice feel of a certain, high middling build, and then you can use the value elsewhere. And I think you could be looking at easily 6x from, I think all those guys have excellent 6x potential and at a high price tag. So I really like the idea of getting to Maxey, Halliburton. And again, I'm higher on Mitchell today than most people are because he plays well in these tough matchups when they need him. Partly his numbers have been down because they literally smash almost everybody. They're not going to smash OKC. I don't think so anyway. But yeah, definitely interest I think you're always playing at least one Philly today. And I think often you're playing two or three. And you want to include Drummond in the mix. We'll see about his health a little bit later. Reggie Jackson, even as a low own. There's going to be multiple guys to go off just because they're playing Washington, they're at home, and they're missing two of their three best players. So I am very much on board. And on top, three of their four best, if you want to throw Jared McCain into the mix. We know he's been gone for a while, but the prices are too cheap. So you're going to want something. I'm actually going to now click on Oubre. I just want to throw out the argument for pivoting off of him because he's not a guaranteed thing. It is a great matchup for him. So I would love him if he was like, 10%. Just I think he's going to be like 70% owned tonight. Just throwing it out there. Sort of like we had last night with Sexton. All right. Detroit and Brooklyn. Boy, I'll tell you what. I thought I would love more from Detroit. I think Cade I have interest in. I think I have some interest in Harris, but his price coming up a little bit, not going to be a overwhelming priority. I don't play Tim Hardaway Jr. all that often. Tonight would be a night where I'd consider it. Certainly nothing wrong with Fontecchio and Stewart, but again, I want to try and make the slate a little bit smaller. So I'm just going to stick to that one play, the Cade play for right now from Detroit. I might revisit that one a little bit later. Clowney, I have some interest there. Ben Simmons is questionable. That would actually make a big difference even for Clowney potentially. So I'll put Clowney on for right now, but he's really the only one I'm getting to. And it seems like if Simmons is out, that we kind of have to be doing something else here. Keon Johnson, they made a lot more expensive. But look at all these injuries. I feel like we're supposed to find some other creator, but none of these guys are natural creators. And to the point where I was even like, if Ben Simmons is in, am I thinking about that? Because these are all like power forwards and stuff. It's just weird. So maybe we do take a shot on Keon Johnson, even at 5,800, just because they don't really have any other shot creators. And Detroit has been much better this year, but it's not like they're some defensive juggernaut. So I am interested a little bit in getting some exposure to that side of the game, to this Brooklyn side, even though it doesn't project well on its face. And it's just somebody's going to have to do something. Toronto, I cannot find a thing to play, and I'm happy to make, as I said, a big slate, small slate bigger. RJ Barrett revenge at 9K, little thin at 9K, but I like the idea of it. Wouldn't surprise me if he had a good game. Just feels a little bit expensive. Karl Anthony Towns would be my highest level of interest on the Knicks side. I actually think that Anunoby, another sort of a reverse revenge. He's not in Toronto. I think Anunoby is very reasonable. So these would be the two that I would look at, but nobody who's going to end up by the day making my core plays. But those are the two I'm interested in right now. Portland and New Orleans. On the Portland side, all of these guys look good every day. Let's see about Avdia. Let's see about Klingon. I think Klingon is, I don't know. I have a feeling Klingon ends up sitting. I do like Ayton. I think all of these guys you could certainly consider. I'm a little bit interested in Scoot too, by the way. I think there's upside for him. And again, it's really going to depend on who ends up playing as far as Avdia goes. And Kamara is a guy I like in real life. I don't usually love to play him in DFS. I'm considering him tonight. I'm considering Simons. So they will all get little check marks. Shaden Sharp, definitely open to as well. But again, I don't want to have too many guys. So I'm going to take these 40 or 30 so players and try to whittle it down to a tighter core a little bit later. New Orleans on the back-to-back here. DeJounte Murray was excellent last night. Alvarado is supposed to be returning. If he doesn't, maybe that opens up some more because there is no Trey Murphy and we will have no Zion after playing last night, but Zion's still getting a projection. So it's throwing off the numbers. I think you're going to see Brandon Boston Jr. look like a much better play than he looks like right now. I think Herb Jones will look better. I think all these guys are going to look a lot better once we eliminate Zion, Trey Murphy, and Alvarado, because the early projections have them in. I don't think that Zion and Trey Murphy are playing, and I think it's going to make one of McCollum or DeJounte look really good. I'm just going to click on DeJounte too, just because I don't want to forget about him. All right, Clippers in Denver. This is going to be tough because we have the Jokic news, and Jokic. By the fact that they waited with Jokic, he tries to play every game. I know he wanted to play last night. Shout out to the Nuggets for putting up a nice fight against Boston without him. They really went after it. Westbrook was, he had some turnovers and stuff down the stretch which was kind of ugly. But overall, I thought the energy was really good from him and from the Denver side. So I was impressed by them last night. Without Jokic, where they're usually really terrible, they were in the game until pretty much the end of it. James Harden's price has come down to the point where I think it's interesting. Again, I like the other 80x100 guys a little bit more. Harden's clearly a better play on his face than Mitchell, but you get a lot lower ownership on Mitchell. So I'm open to this Harden thing tonight. This 8K range seems to be where I keep winding up for whatever it's worth. And a lot of guards. So shuffling in, the Halliburtons, I mentioned the Mitchell, obviously the Maxey being the chalk one that I love. And then you got Cade at 98, a little bit higher, but I think these 80x100 guards are sort of the ones you want to get after tonight. And that's sort of how the builds are leading me, at least. On the Denver side, again, it's just look, we play Westbrook again if Jokic is out. And by the way, maybe you just play him anyway. Peyton Watson can get there anyway. Maybe you just play him anyway. Maybe you just play Strother anyway and just hope that you get it right. Now, we'll have better news later in the day, hopefully. But if we don't, even consider some Michael Porter. It's not a great matchup, but look, they're playing at home. The point spread would lead you to believe that Jokic is out, because if Jokic is in, they're favored in this game. And if we're going to assume Jokic is out, you're going to want to get some of the exposure to all of these guys all the way down the line. Actually, I would even throw Christian Braun in the mix. So it's just going to depend. And this is only if Jokic is out, by the way. If Jokic is in, the only one I'm really interested in is probably Jokic, with maybe some Strother. He's looked a little better for them lately. So it would be a thin value play, but it's something you could consider at least doing. San Antonio. So I'm okay with the Champagny idea. I like that it's a later game. That's the reason I'm going to click on this. And I'm just going to go out and say that Victor Wembanyama might be projected at 50 or 60 or whatever it is at day to day. There's always the 80+ upside, and I feel this is a spot where he can get there. I will go out of my. He's the spend up I think I have the most interest in, actually. I know it's kind of weird to say, but I like the 8K range, as I mentioned. So maybe I don't get to much Wemby, but I really think that Wemby would, at low ownership, I'm just going to keep taking advantage of it. The guy's a machine, and I think we're going to see like a massive 100+ game out of him in a very, very short period of time. Maybe tonight is the night going into Milwaukee against Giannis. And good on the Spurs, by the way. Good bet by me, I think. What did I get them at before? I think they were 10-1 to make the playoffs, not to play in the playoffs. And now they're, I think, 2.5-1 or maybe 3-1. So I feel like the Spurs have done me a solid. The Spurs are going to be competing for a title within the next 2 years. Mark my words. And Wemby will be considered the second best player or third best player in the NBA behind Jokic and Giannis, right there with both of them. No issue with Giannis, but I'm finding myself with a little more interest in Jokic, to be honest with you tonight. So I'm not getting too much from Milwaukee. Now, if you want to do a Giannis and Jokic thing, sure. I'm not. It's not a priority for me, but I'm going to click his name just because I don't want to forget that I'd like a little bit of exposure. This could be a good game. Another bet I like the total. I like betting the over in this game. I think it's a very, very likely to hit over. And yeah, so that's sort of it. Again, I got too many plays on my core stuff. But again, I'm going to whittle these down to a smaller pool. Once we have a little more information, I will do my best, if I have power, to get your guys all my content up. And again, just think about us in LA, and hopefully we'll be able to go live later today. Hopefully I'll be able to get my content up. Hopefully I'll be able to play, because as of right now, it's going to be difficult to try to figure that out if we might have to be evacuating or anything like that. And I answered Travis's question about Wemby and Giannis together. Halliburton got the tag. We don't need to speculate on Halliburton, because we'll see later on today. That would be my answer on the Halliburton. Towns should be out. He might be, but is Towns officially out? I didn't get that note yet. You said Towns is out. I don't have the note that he's out. So until I see any news. And the good news is we'll likely have the Towns news. We'll definitely have the Halliburton news before lock. So we're gonna have to wait on that one. Yeah, DeJounte was nuts yesterday. Absolutely. And anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to check again on the news and see what we got. And yeah, look forward to catching up with you guys hopefully later today. And I will get my content up if I'm able to play, which it's hard because a lot of my content is based on playing. It's showing my exposures and all that. If I'm not playing, I obviously don't have any exposures. So it's going to be a weird one to figure out. But hopefully, bear with us here in LA. We'll do the best we can to get all of our stuff up. No matter what, we'll have somebody come live at 6, whether it's me or not. And thanks so much for everything, guys. And we appreciate you. Check out our packages. Awesome deals out there in the industry. We are literally all the SaberSim advantages to add, combined with Sheets' projections, combined with Goldie's projections, all of my content, all of Rody's content, Brandon Cruz for NASCAR, and also has been popping in for some NBA stuff as well as Showdown stuff. Chan for LOL, a lot of good stuff out there. So really would encourage people to take a look at our packages if you're out there looking for a site to use. I think we have a really awesome offering where we are charging basically almost the same within a couple dollars of SaberSim for all of their stuff as well as all of our stuff as well. So we appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for everything.